It has been such a long time between our last podcast and this podcast. I think it's been about 2 months. But I'm here today with a new one. I just really got overwhelmed with the holidays coming up and a few other things going on. And I needed to step back and just kind of not have to worry about filming. I don't do a lot of editing to my videos anyway. But it was just overwhelming trying to schedule a chunk of time to film and edit and upload a video on my previous schedule, and I just kind of needed a timeout. But don't worry, I didn't go anywhere. I was still doing lots of making. I'm completely surrounded by things to share with you today over what I've been up to for the last couple of months. And I realized while I was recording that I did not grab everything I meant to, so I had to stop real quick and grab the thing that I had forgot about. So in true recipe fashion, we're going to start with what I'm wearing. I had just finished this the last time I had filmed. This is the Autumn Doodle Cowl by PNW Knit Design. And even though it is not cool enough in my apartment to wear it, I knew that I wanted to wear this for the next podcast, whenever that ended up being. So there are plenty of pictures that I've posted on my Ravelry. Because it's called a doodle, you get to choose from a whole bunch of different charts and basically customize your own cowl using the themed charts provided in the pattern. Still love this as much as I did when I finished it, so that is what I'm wearing. And then we're going to start with finished objects. Quite a few of these were gifts for the holidays, so I don't have all of them to show you, but I do have pictures of all of them, so I will drop them into the video as they come up, which starts with this first one. It was the Moose Mug Cozy by Blackstone Designs, and it's this cute little mug cozy that you can wrap around and attach using buttons, and it's in a moose. It's shaped like a moose wearing a little like plaid scarf, and I thought of my coworker when I saw this pattern and I thought it was so cute, so I made that for her for Christmas, and luckily it seemed to fit the mug that she tried it on when I gifted it to her, so I'm glad for that. Super cute, super easy. I thought I had hit gauge. I think I had adjusted the hook and thought that I had met gauge, but then I ended up being a dumb and not measuring after I had a few rows once I was actually started on the pattern, and turns out I was short by about an inch or so, and I had to do a weird modification to the back. It worked out fine, but I wish I would have measured it when I'd started, because then I could have torn it out and chained more versus kind of like adding on to the side like I did. Otherwise, super cute. I didn't end up adding the nostrils that the original pattern called for because I couldn't find fasteners that were the right size. I found the ones for the eyes because they're like the flat, I don't remember off the top of my head what they're called, but they're flat safety eyes essentially that you can stick through the yarn and you sew them in. They don't have like a backer like safety eyes do. And apparently use a bigger size for the eyes and a smaller size for the nostrils, and I couldn't find those, and I didn't feel like trying to find online and just have like one piddly thing to ship, so I just left them off. I think it looked cuter that way anyway, so that is, I think, the only other modification other than what I had to do to make it long enough. The second thing was also a gift, but it was a test knit that I think I remember anticipating that I was hopefully going to be chosen for it the last podcast, but I don't think I'd quite heard back yet, and I hadn't ordered yarn or anything. But that was the Linen Blend Cowl by Yellow Ribbon Crafts, and that was a really, really fun knitted colorwork cowl. It also has texture too. I was gonna say texture originally. It's the linen stitch, and then with that and the color work, it just creates a really cool effect between two colors of yarn. And so I used an Aran weight, which is what it calls for, but I bought a pre-dyed color, and then I bought a bare skein from Knit Picks, and then I dyed the second color based on what I was told the recipient's favorite colors were. So you'll see blue and black. I love the way it looks so much, and that's what drew me to the pattern when I saw the call. It was actually the first test pattern that I've done on Yarn Pond, and it's gorgeous. If I had more people to knit for, I probably would make so many more, because it's just so much fun working up. I mean, you could do every single color, any color, it would look great. And the transition is beautiful. In fact, you'll see later on, the transition inspired me for a different project I'm working on. It's just gold. Chef's kiss. The third gift that I made for the holidays, I actually do have with me because it was for my husband. And that is it's a modified pattern from, and I apologize in advance because I know I'm going to butcher this, Marty Fagervik on Ravelry. It's a metal or a slime amigurumi pattern, and I've done this one a couple of times, so if you're on my Ravelry you'll see it crop up. I've done one regular slime, one metal slime, and then I've done this third one, which is the King Metal Slime. And long story short, it's a character from a game that my husband loves, so I've been making him characters on and off over the past couple of years. And so I modified that original pattern. Yes, they look derpy. That's the way the character looks. I did do the mouth a little bit differently than what they show in the game, but basically I held 2 strands double to make a little bit bigger of a slime, and then I used felt for the facial details, and I needle felted his little crown. Hopefully that's focusing okay. I think that's better. So it's just kind of striping different colors of purple with gold, and then I added little cheeks. And I did include on my Ravelry project page what I did just to make little, I mean essentially they're just rounds that are stuffed so that they stick out. So anyway, that is that. Overall I'm pretty proud of how that turned out, and he really liked it, so that made me really happy. This really cool metal yarn, metallic yarn, that's what I meant to say, is, oh no, I'm gonna blank. It's on my Ravelry too, but it's this really cool, shiny, they have like gold and I think rose gold and some other metallic yarns too, but it really does shine and shimmer, and so it was just so much better than doing like a gray. Like I know Karen Simply Soft has like a kind of a silvery colored yarn that I've used before, but this physically shimmers. So I'm so glad that I found this yarn because I've used it for both of those slimes now, or 2 of the 3 I should say. Anyway, then I have one final FO. It's kind of hard to believe that that's all that I've finished. Try to think if that sounds right. I feel like there's been more because it really has only been 2 months, but I'm pretty sure I looked at my Ravelry before I make my notes. Yeah, I think so. Feels like there should be more. Anyway, around Thanksgiving, there was the avocado. In fact, I've posted a video opening that box on my channel. The Avocado Box by Vicki Howell /Yarnier/ nope, that's it. There's just 2. So I kind of showed what the box looked like because it was so much fun. It had all these avocado themed items in it because it was all based around the wrong batch of yarn that they received when Vicki was working on a new line, and it reminded her of guacamole, and from there they just went on a whole tangent about avocados. And so I have my avocado scarf. There was differences in the two skeins I received in the box, so you'll see that it's stripes. In fact, it shows up almost better on camera than it does in person. It's still noticeable in person, but it really shows up on camera. So I just alternated every 2 rows, there, back, to try and make that at least as even as possible across the scarf, except for when I forgot, and then I did 4 rows, which happened quite a few times along the way because I got, oh, here I did even longer. I would lose track of where I was switching, so you can see that definitely along the way, but it works out. I really like the scarf. In fact, I have a whole avocado themed outfit that this actually coordinates with, so I'll drop a photo of that in too, because it just kind of was a happy accident of different garments and accessories over the years that have come together to create this outfit. And the reason it's called the avocado scarf is because if you look at the stitches, you have the pit is the hole in the center, and then you have the avocado forming around it. So hopefully that shows up. You can see, I'm trying to stretch it out a little more just to accentuate. But it's so fun. There were like stitch markers and all sorts of things. I'll leave it at that because I do have a video opening up the box if you're interested in seeing what was in it. This was a limited time box that they completely sold out of, I think in like an hour or 2. Maybe it was a little longer than that, but it sold out really quick. And so I'm really glad that I secured mine. I don't usually buy themed boxes necessarily, but I couldn't say no to the avocados. So that is FOs. So now we're going to jump into whips, and I will start like I have been starting with my, oh, it's over here, Tidings to You wrap by Amy Gunderson. And I will say we have been working steadily on this, and we actually just finished knitting last weekend on the Tidings to You wrap, which is the pattern that was included in the 2020 Jimmy Bean's Craft Event box that we received for Christmas in 2020, and then knitted throughout all of 2021 until finishing last weekend. We still have to weave it in block and weave in, because I like to block before I weave it ends. And I'm kind of walking my mom through the blocking process because she hasn't done it before. But here is the unblocked progression of this wrap. It was like a lace sampler. Yeah, it was just a lace sampler. All the yarn's the same on this one. Like the same type, I should say, by Madeline Tosh. And then all the way to the end. So when this blocks out, it's gonna get nice and wide and lacy, and I'm excited to block it out, but we are gonna save that until the next time her and I are together. Just so that I have like supplies and things that I was going to share with her while we block it together. So that is the Tidings to You wrap. So pretty. Love the colors. I know it's been a while, I think, since I've said it, but I did this cinnamon sugar colorway, I believe is what it was called. And it's a bunch of like warm and neutral tones. And then my mom did the other colorway, which was the Northern Lights. So we have 2 different colored wraps using the same pattern. So the next time that I will show that off is when it's finally finished. I don't know when we're planning on visiting them next, but that'll just kind of hang out and be set aside for now. So bear with me while I grab this one because I'm actually kind of a little nervous to hold it up. But I ended up getting Hickory Lane Fiber Co.'s 2020 Disney Heroes vs. Villains Advent last year. And I decided pretty early on, since I knew there wasn't going to be a pattern with the box, I had figured out what pattern I wanted to make ahead of time so that I could jump in right away December 1st. And I'm going to show it to you. It is, by the way, the Advent 2020 sweater by Helene's Knit House. And I've got it on 2 needles, so trying to get it over here carefully because I've already had them fall apart. So needless to say, I really wanted to make a garment this year with one of my Advents because I like making accessories, but I don't wear them as much. So I knew I wanted to make a garment, and I had picked out this sweater because I thought it was really pretty. And I liked the simple lacy detail in between colors, but oh boy, I severely underestimated how long it was going to take me to work each color just because it is fingering weight yarn. So I'm only on color 9, I believe. But this has been so interesting to work on because it started with that color there, and then you work around the neck opening. So that's where you would put your head on. And then that like orangey brownish color right there in the middle is like the top of the shoulder. And then you just work around the top, and then you work down on both sides, and you switch up going back and forth between the front panel and the back panel. Super interesting construction. So that's been really interesting to work up, except for the fact that I found out from the beginning that I start with my main color, and in my Advent that main color was day 25. So I actually have known what the day 25 color looked like since day 1. And so if you've been following on my Instagram page, that is why I blacked out and like I not only took out the color for the stripes, the main color stripes, but I also like scribbled over them, so there was no way, because at first I was just gonna black it out, but then you could tell that it was a darker solid, semi-solid, and I didn't want to like give any kind of spoiler, so I grayscaled it and then scribbled it. But it's this really pretty, that like burgundy color that you can't really see it now because again it's not blocked, but it's a lacy section in between each color stripe. And that was my main color, so I spoiled myself from the beginning there. But I'm really glad that I was thinking about adding a second like main skein, and then just like using part of the main skein at the end for this. But I'm really glad that I ended up opening up the last day and just doing it anyway, because I think like so far I love, like when I was opening them I was really worried about how they would look together, because I mean they're based on their characters, so they're all over the map. But because this dyer does a more like muted tone, they all work so great together. Like I'm very surprised, and I love how it's working out. But it has taken me a while because the purling rows are harder on my hands than the knit rows. So I usually have to break it out and only do like a couple rows at a time. And then I gotta move on to something else or take a break. So yeah, like I said, I think I'm only on color 9. And then I modified, like you open them in the order of like the hero or the villain one day from one movie, and the hero or the, I can't remember which one was first. But essentially you have 2 days for one movie. 1 day is a hero, 1 day is a villain. But because the colors alternate between the back and front panels, I wanted the heroes and the villains to be next to each other that correspond to the same movie. Although it would be fun to do one side all heroes, one side all villains. Like there are so many ways I could have gone, but I decided to keep them together. So I did have to change the order. Like I didn't just add them in the order that I opened them. I have to like make sure that I'm planning ahead enough to know that like right now I have Ariel working next to Ursula, But first I did Ursula and then jumped to the other side and did Pongo and Perdita from 101 Dalmatians. And then I went back to my other side and I'm working on Ariel right now, and she's next to Ursula. So it's just a bunch of jumping back and forth and making sure I know what colorway was the previous one on the side that I'm starting on so that I can add the correct one. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's been a lot of fun to work up, and I was worried about the way it was going to fit. So I did decide that I'm going to make some slight modifications. I'm not there yet. Oh no, that's not true. I already added one additional stripe for my sleeve than the pattern calls for. Or I will be. I'm on one of 2 stripes that I have left to do before I start decreasing for the body. Originally, my size would have called for already decreasing on this stripe, but I really decided that I like to have, like, there's my sleeve and there's my body. I like to have really nice loose sleeves up in like the upper arm circumference area. And so I'm making that. In fact, all of the garments that I've made so far, I've really had to modify in that area because all of them cinch up, which looks really great, but I just don't like the way it fits and feels. So that is the first modification I'm doing. And then because the pattern cautioned that with the way the top fits, when you get to your hips, that's a really important measurement to take into consideration. I'm like in between sizes, like the bust measurement, I picked that pattern, but the hips might end up being a slight issue later on. So what I'm gonna do is when I decrease for the body, it looks like it's a pretty straightforward way to go because you're just decreasing from each side. And I will probably just not do as many decreases. It's as simple as that. And I already have a top that I used as a reference for how I want to handle like the sleeve opening and the decreases and everything. So I have made some notes for myself so that once I get to that point I can kind of plan accordingly. So yeah, that was a lot about that, but it's a fun project. So my next one is a test knit that I did not plan. Not that I usually plan test knits, because how could you? But this is the Millifera Cowl, again by PNW Knit Design. So the same designer who did this. Her color work has been like absolutely, I mean, I love all of her designs. I think it would be really hard to choose one favorite. Obviously, I love this one because fall, but also I saw this one. And I have never test knit color work before, but I feel like I've done a few projects now. I was gaining the confidence to do it. Just trying to rearrange this a little bit so it's easier to see. Oop. Without dropping stitches. Actually, I'm going to do it this way, I think. So, she had a test knit call for this 2 weeks ago. But I had kind of teased it the week before, and I fell in love with the way the design looked. And it wasn't just the fact that it was color work, it was like the style that was used to create this chart. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just going to show it because it looks even better on camera. Not that it doesn't look good in person, but oh my gosh. So this is bee themed. Millifera, apparently, I don't know if it's Latin for honeybee, but it's somewhere along the line it translates to honeybee. And my husband's family does beekeeping, so bees have, I joked in the chat, the testing chat, that they hit a little bit differently than they would have before I knew him and his family. And so this was a really special design, and I really just, I mean, like, look at, so this is obviously the bee right here, but look at how perfect everything lines up. The little floral details that, like, sideline the bee, the wings. Like, isn't that such a pretty way to do bee wings? And then, of course, we have, so honeycombs that make up the rest of it. And this is scrunched up and not blocked, of course. But you can mix and match. Again, she's really big on that, which is amazing. But this one you could do either like all bees, all honeycomb, or a mix of the two, and that's what I'm doing. There's also 2 sizes, which I think lets you add another set of bees. I haven't quite looked at that one fully yet, but I'm doing this small, and that takes a skein. It's DK weight, a skein of each. And you'll have a little bit left over of both, more so the contrast. But yeah, I really wanted to do yellow in some capacity. So that is what this is, like a really like ochre color, I guess would be a better word for it. I hope that's the right word. And so I'm happy that I was able to keep that yellow in it, and then I wanted to do a neutral for the other color. And so I found this like pretty charcoal color and decided that it would be really fun to do, because I think her sample originally was black or like a dark brown or a dark gray as the main color, and then yellow, a brighter yellow. Oh no, that's not true. Sorry, it is brown, because I remember the yarn names. So a brown for the main color, a dark brown, and then like a golden mustard kind of yellow for the contrast. And I wanted to, you know, make mine a little bit different at least, while still keeping that yellow. So I decided to do the reverse and have the yellow be my main. And I think that will look really, really pretty once it's done. So I want to also talk about the yarn, because this is from my local yarn shop. Yarn Underground is the shop that's about 10 minutes away from me. But outside of being a yarn shop, the owner actually also dyes yarn and has their own yarn line, which is called Palouse Yarn Company. I wanted to make sure I had that right, because we live in the Palouse. So that's cute. And these are the 2 colors I bought. This is the 7 Devils DK is the kind of yarn, and then I have August and Jet. And it's just such a pretty pairing. And as soon as I saw those colors, like I was trying to think if there was a way I could be a little bit different than the sample, which I'm glad that I decided to do the reverse. But I was also saying if there was a different color I could pair with the yellow, but I just couldn't. I just loved this combination so much. And I'm so happy that that's what I ended up going with. And I have been working on it for the past week or so. And I think I'm almost halfway done. Not quite. So this has been a very enjoyable knit. I'm so happy I was chosen for this test. And I can't wait to continue sharing progress with you. Although I have a feeling by the time I record the next podcast, this will probably be a finished object. Just getting this back on the needles so I can fold it up. Oh, also, fun fact, for Christmas, I got Chiago's, I said that weird, I'm sorry, interchangeable, the whole set. That was like one of my big Christmas present asks for this year, was the interchangeable set. I've been eyeing them for like probably 6 months now, and figured that it would be a good thing to ask for Christmas. So I am loving having more than one, because with my other set I could comfortably work on 2 different knit projects at the same time. But now I have 1, 2, 3 right now, only because that Advent sweater that I just showed has 2 sets of needles, one on the front panel and one on the back panel, so I can just, move back and forth from the sides without waste yarn, because before I opened it, I had to slide waste yarn on a side and then pick stitches back up and use 1 needle for both sides. But yes, I'm very excited. Very excited for the Chiagos. Okay, last for my whips. That's not true. My last whip is part of a separate thing. So yes and no, last whip, but it is the 2021, make sure that you're right, the Jimmy Bean's craft event for 2021. So the one I showed earlier that my mom and I have been working on, that was from 2020. And then for Christmas last year, we received the 2021 craft, and we actually literally, sorry you hate that word, but it's true, we cast on this morning a few hours ago, so I can officially put it in the whips, because I was originally just going to show this box off. This year it came in a box. I think last year's was supposed to come in a box too, and they probably ran out, and ours didn't. But look at how cute this, I know it's backwards, but look at how cute this box is. And so we opened it for Christmas, and like we did last year, we opened up, or sorry, 2 years ago, we opened up all of the colors just to see what they were, even though you see ahead of time what colors are included in the advent. Look. You have a whole box with all these little other boxes that have the yarn and all of the other goodies in them. So we opened everything up, looked at everything, and then put it all back away. That was 2 weeks ago now, well I guess 3 weeks ago. And we knew we had to finish our first one, so we, bound off last weekend. And almost every Saturday my mom and I knit together on this. So this morning, in this super cute project bag that came with the 2021 Jimmy Beans craft vent, we started. Ooh, I haven't seen it in the daylight yet. I'm probably gonna show the wrong side too. I think this is the right side. Oh, look at that color. So the last one we did the 2 different colorways, one of each. And this year we decided we both liked the pink set of colorways so much that we both got the same. So we're working on the same pattern, the same colorway. This is the Festive Wrap by Amba O'Brien. And we're doing the Ribbon Candy colorway, which is a whole bunch of like pinks and yellows and like corals and just such pretty colors. Like the blue one was pretty too, and normally I'm a blue person, but this one really spoke to us. So as you can see, we only have a few rows going, but that is what we have. And this is like wavy lace is what this is going to end up doing once we have more rows established. Of course, blocking will help with all of that. And this one's really cool because the last box was all Madeline Tosh yarn, but the designer, she curated between 3 different, I'm not sure if they all, they're all like smaller groups, and I know 2 of them are definitely like more indie yarn, but so one of them is Madeline Tosh again because Jimmy Beans owns Madeline Tosh, and then two other groups that she has put together with Madeline Tosh yarn in order to kind of like pick and choose color palettes that matched what she wanted to go for. And I won't go into too many details just because I don't want to drag this video out even longer than it already will be. But she picked the color palettes based on like what winter looked like in each hemisphere during the holidays, because she's an Australian designer, and so for them, of course, they're transitioning from spring to summer. In fact, by Christmas they're in summer, and then of course us in the northern hemisphere are in winter. So that's why you have like the blues and the yellows and the pinks, corals and yellows. So pretty, such an awesome like palette and idea to be inspired by. So I'm pretty excited to start another project and have another kind of our own little knit along throughout the year. That's really what this has been, is a knit along. So that is the next one. So then my final whip, that's also kind of a mess to move over because I have yarn everywhere. So Crochet Creations, Emily of Crochet Creations, and I joked at the end of last year that we both really wanted to make a love note, and how we get sucked into knit-alongs and it's really easy to get caught up in that. And wouldn't it be fun if we did our own knit-along for the love note? And so the end of December, we talked about it, and she came up with the most adorable hashtag for our knit-along, because we hadn't really picked anything specific. We were just like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it sometime this year. And she came up with "Love Note is in the air" for Valentine's Day. How cute is that? So we're doing the Love Note cowl right now. Find all of the details on our Instagram page. We're doing prizes. We have like a progress check-in. In fact, today is when we're supposed to be starting the body, I believe. But I have all of that, and she has all of that posted on her feed as well. So it's not too late to join us. We're doing it from January 1st to February 14th, so that you have a super cute sweater to wear in time for Valentine's Day. And there's something else I was going to add to that. Oh, it has to be started after, like on or after January 1st to qualify for the prize. WIP posts get you more entries if you bind off and finish it by February 14th. And with that, I'm going to show you my progress. And again, I've split for the sleeves, so they're on waste yarn. The neckline is on waste yarn, so it's kind of a mess, but bear with me. So this is the back that I'm showing you because it's the least tangled. But I'm using, I got the second yarn down here. I'm gonna wait to show you the transition because it's a bit of a surprise. This light color in a Knit Crate box last year, and it's a Odin Wool Blue, I think. And I got 2 skeins in the box, and I didn't really want to do the patterns that the box had in it, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make a love note with this, because it's like this very furry, it's a chainette construction for starters, but it has like this fuzzy, you can kind of see it, there's a little bit of a halo to it as you look at the yarn on a black background here, so that maybe you can see it a little bit better, my hair and my shirt. So you can kind of see that it's fuzzy. So it kind of mimics, originally this is supposed to be a fingering and mohair held double to make like a very halo-y sweater. And yes, that would have been so much fun to try because I haven't done mohair and fingering double before. And I'm sure like it would be a gorgeous turnout, but because I had this yarn, I was like, this could give me kind of the same effect, but I didn't have enough yarn with 2 skeins, and of course, no, I must have gotten this color. I'm sorry, I messed all of that up. I got this color because they were sold out of this color by the time I decided what I was going to do with it, but they did have this really pretty neutral, and I was like, I can make that work. And I actually ended up buying a dress right before that that has like all these pinks and purples and creams in it on a black background, and I didn't like the top part of the dress because it was really low cut, and frankly, even though it's for plus size, it didn't really feel like it was shaped for a plus size person. So I didn't like the top, but I really liked the skirt part of it, and I've been wanting to buy more dresses that I can layer with my knits. So I was like, here's my answer, love note, and then no one will have to worry about the top of the dress. And so, as you can see, I've done my neckline, I've done my lace, and I started the body. But, and remember earlier when I said that the color work from that test inspired me, I love that transition. Again, this is the back, so ignore my jog. I loved that color transition so much that I call it confetti. I'm sure there's like an actual term for that, but to me they look like they confetti together. And so I did that. I created my own like test chart to see how it would work. And then I liked how it looked on Stitch Fiddle, so I gave it a shot and transitioned into my second color. But when we had our live stream kickoff for the Love Note, Emily was like, wouldn't it be cute if you could add hearts somehow when you're fading it? And I said, yes, that would be freaking adorable. And Emily, as you know, because we've talked about it now, it was awesome. So I'm so happy that she like suggested that, because I can't get over the transition between these two colors. Like, it's probably my favorite thing. Look at the hearts. And of course, my number of stitches kind of was weird, so, but you know, not too bad. So like, I couldn't do a full heart here at the end of the round, but I just did a little stripe. And I think I'm messed up there. I don't remember what happened there, but you know, it could look a lot worse for being like a very specific number of stitches across. So yes, so I had not been able to put this down up until I got that, or I applied it and was accepted for that Vicki Howell test knit, just because that ended up having a tighter timeline. But I am so in love with the way this is turning out. I'm going to do the cropped version of the Love Note because, like I said, I really like the skirt of the dress, and I'm planning a very specific outfit for this sweater with that dress. So I'm not thinking about, like, what would it look like if I just wear jeans or something. It's going to be with that dress. So, cropped sweater. I think what I'm going to do is, I was measuring how much yarn it took me to do a row here, and I worked as much as I could to still save enough for the sleeves to do the transition. So I'll transition the sleeves out to match the body. But then I think I probably won't, ideally I would have had enough to pick up and do the neckline with this red color, this pinky red. I don't think that's going to be the case. So what I'm going to do is hopefully have enough of the cream left over, do a contrasting neckline, and then the bottom ribbing and the cuffs. I can't remember if the cuffs have ribbing or not, but all of that will hopefully be in the cream. So I have a few more inches to do on the body before I start the short row hemline, I think is what that next section's called. Because I think the front is shorter than the back, and I think that would look cute too. So I'm going to just keep on keeping on there. Trying to think if I've made any modifications so far. But I don't think I have. This cute little fake eyelet up here was me accidentally doing my increases wrong. So the second set of increases is down here, and you can't see them as noticeably. But I didn't know that the way I was going to do it would make this like eyelid look. And at first it annoyed me and I was tempted to rip it back, but I actually think it is kind of cute. So I'm glad that I switched it for the second one though, but I think that will be a cute little detail to have up on the neck. So that is the Love Note. Again, there will be prizes. Emily and I are curating prizes. I'm going to be dyeing yarn for it. In fact, I'm doing that probably Monday now, instead of tomorrow. And we have, like, if you go to our social media pages, we've kind of picked a color palette for the advertising that we're doing it for it. And that color palette was so fun that I decided, like, I wanted to carry that into the yarn I was dyeing and use that same palette. So I have an idea. It'll be like a 3-step process. And I don't think it's out of my skill set, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow or Monday. And I'll probably post like a dye with me type progression in my stories on Instagram. It's not going to be anything super formal or anything, but it's going to be like check-ins as I go, so you can kind of see what's going on, how the yarn changes, and get a sneak peek of what that looks like for when we share what the prizes are going to be. And you would think that I would be done there, but no, there's more. I had to write on the back side of the sheet this week. So I have mail items to share. I'm going to call it quote-unquote mail because it's more of things I've acquired and not all mail. Sorry, I'm trying to get this page to stay down. It doesn't want to cooperate. So this is definitely not all of my acquisitions since the last podcast, because I did do quite a bit of Black Friday shopping / Cyber Monday shopping for like some sweater quantities and things for some of my projects for this year. But I did want to shout out a few different things that I've picked up recently, including another one from my local yarn store. Again, this is by their specific hand-dyed company, the Palouse Yarn Company. They had their 11th anniversary. I'm gonna mess this up, in November. Pretty sure it was November. And they dyed like a set of minis, of DK minis. Actually, I think she did 3 sets of DK minis for a pattern that they had someone write for this really beautiful stole. But again, I don't wear as many accessories, so I'm not going to do the stole, but I really wanted to buy one of the mini sets. So first of all, peep their super cute logo, Palouse Yarn Company. And then this is the Magruder DK sock set. So really I could do some DK weight socks with a whole bunch of these colors. In fact, I'd try to use all of them. But it comes with 11 mini skeins. This is 49 yards for 20 grams, 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. And it even says here that it was specifically dyed for their 11th birthday, and this is the Lake Sunset colorway. So first off, if you have any ideas for how to incorporate all 11 mini skeins into a project, please let me know below. Originally I was thinking the Millifera Cowl, but I already have yarn that I would rather use for that pattern, and I'm not usually a repeat pattern person. And also, I was looking at the projects and I saw some other people were doing DK weight, but I felt like they looked too heavy, and I didn't really like the way they looked, so I think I would rather keep fingering weight for that anyway. So pretty. You have some neutrals, like look at these really pretty neutrals right here. And then you have a black back here. You have a couple of like deep like reddish browns and a nice really pretty like yellowy brown. Some blues and teals. Oh look, there's another neutral. I picked this one, pink and like a mint. I picked this one because it appealed more to my palette. They were all really gorgeous. There was like a brighter rainbow one. And then, oh, I can't remember what the other one was. I think it had a lot more different colors, but they were more muted. The rainbow was definitely the brightest. And then there was this third one, and I think the other non-rainbow one was the one that they originally used in their sample, and then this was one that I was not expecting. And I just really liked the pops of color. Again, it's called Lake Sunset. The pops of these like blues and pinks and mints with the rest of these neutral colors. So that spoke much more to me, and it was the set that I decided to go with. So a special shout out to Palouse Yarn Company. And then a few weeks ago, my dad and I went on a trip to Montana because he gets the travel bug. Not necessarily specifically travel. He gets bored very easily and wants to go driving for the sake of driving. And in this case, it was driving to Montana. So we're in Washington State, so even though it's not a huge drive, it was still quite a long drive to get over there, and we split it out between a couple days. And he bribed me, if you will, by saying that we could stop at yarn shops that were between my parents' house and where we were going in Missoula. And so he came and picked me up, And the first stop we made was to Paradise Fibers because I'd heard of them by name. Of course, they have their fiber subscription box that ChemKnits does reviews for, with all sorts of gorgeous roving that you can spin into yarns or do whatever with. But I didn't realize until like last year that they had a store, and a pretty large one at that, like an hour and 15 minutes away from me. Really. I mean, it's north. It's right above me. In fact, it's one of the closest big towns from where we live. So I couldn't believe that they were so close. So of course we had to stop there. And I got some really fun things. I definitely got the most there. Yeah, just want to make sure I have the right things. This one and this one. I'm not going to show everything, just because, one, that'll take a lot of time, and two, I'm actually working on a special project that those are going to be a part of, and I don't want to post anything about it until I'm ready to reveal the full thing. So until then, don't worry, I still have plenty to share. I got some base yarn, so I couldn't help but get some Malabrigo. This is the Mecha type in the color Arco Iris. So to me, this looks like an oil spill, which I know is not supposed to be pretty. Or maybe like oil spill / gasoline / you know, like that shimmery oil slick. Yes, that is the word I want. Oil slick. With a different like rainbow, like muted colors. So this is a color that's been catching my eye for a while, so I thought it would be a great place to buy semi-small and support a local business, really. So there was that. And then I really liked what Nitty Natty has described in some of her yarn shop videos, where she likes to get something that was made locally, or dyed locally, I should say. Something that's special to that yarn shop. So I was looking around and noticed that there was this brand yarn dyer called Compass Moon Creations, and they were dyed very locally. In fact, probably along the same strip that I live on, anywhere up along the Washington-Idaho border. And this is Baby Alpaca Sport Weight in the color Harvest. And this one really caught my eye. There were a couple that really just caught my eye, and I decided ultimately one skein, and this was the winner. Really like the subtle pops among a neutral base. So this person had a lot of things at that store, and they don't just dye yarn. They had like stitch markers. I think they had roving there that they dyed as well, and a whole bunch of other things. I was really surprised, and I thought it was really cool that like it wasn't just fiber, but really embracing that fiber related, like complete holistic experience type of a deal. So those are the two yarns I bought there. And then of course, they, like I said, they have their, I'm blanking on what their club is called right now, but it's a fiber club that they do on a monthly basis. And I remember hearing about it because of ChemKnits. They had like a gemstone line. And I didn't really think anything of it until I walked in and they had like their inventory left from their boxes in there. In fact, it was really cool. They had boxes you could purchase too, and I almost bought a box, but I decided not to. This, however, is called Opal. I'm not going to pull it out of the bag. I'm sorry. You're going to have to... There's glare there, but I'll try to move it enough so that you can really see. And if this doesn't represent Opal, I don't know what does. I've never seen something that isn't an opal look so much like an opal before. Because opal's one of my favorite gemstones, and I'm pretty picky about things that try to like mimic the look of opal. But this is so pretty. I have no idea what it would look like spun up. Not that I'm close enough in my spinning journey to even attempt to play with this, but I had to do it. It's a blend of superfine merino, mulberry silk, rose fiber, and faux cashmere. And it is 4 ounces. So they had like a sapphire one and an amethyst one, a ruby. They had quite a few that they were hanging up, and I wanted to buy all of them, but I knew this one was going to win out. It's not even my birthstone. Sapphire's my birthstone, but this one was just so unique. So those are my Paradise Fiber hauls, not including some of the special items that I acquired for a project. And then next we went to Hook and Needle Nook, which is also in Spokane. And that was a really cool place too. It had they had a whole back room full of like spinning wheels. Like you could tell they did classes and things there. And I mean, obviously pandemic aside, like they have the space to do really robust things there. It was a really cool place to be in, and they had a lot of beautiful, beautiful yarns. And ultimately I decided on, again, one skein by Lyrical Fibers, because they are also... Nope, I don't know about if they're local. But I walked into the door and this was the first thing that caught my eye. And even though I walked through the rest of the store, I went back to this one. It's called Dream On. Just lots of pretty, it looks more purpley in real life than it does on the camera. There's definitely pinks in it, but I think it's coming through a little more pink than it really is. But very heavily purple and like gold yellow tones with speckles and pinky undertones. Obviously that's pink, but just super pretty yarn. Yeah, that was the one that caught my eye. And then we're driving along between Spokane. There's a couple places in Coeur d'Alene / Post Falls, but it was later at night and the snow was falling, and you know, places closed. So by the time we drove through it, it was kind of later in the evening. It was time for dinner, so we didn't really stop at any more places until we hit Missoula, and there was Joseph's Coat. And I'm not sure how many yarn stores are in Missoula, but they say that they're the oldest, so I thought that was kind of cool. And they had a really cute shop too. From the photos online, it looked like it was going to be a really tiny place, and it is a pretty small shop, but it had a really fun vibe, and there were people in there shopping for like sweater quantities of they had like yarns laid out, and they were trying to decide one over the other, and we were just chatting about different things, and it was really fun to visit there. And they also carried yarn from Palouse Yarn Company, which I thought was really cool. I didn't realize how far of a reach my local yarn stores hand-dyed yarns had, so it was really fun to see it again. I mean, it's not that far away, but far enough away that it was kind of like, heh, that's my local yarn store, and I've been to that place, and I've talked to the person who does this. So anyway, at that store, again, I bought a few things for the same project, but I did buy a skein of yarn. And this is Manos del Uruguay. I'm sure I butchered that, I'm sorry. Maxima is the kind of yarn. It says it's extra fine merino. And I'm pretty sure this is worsted weight. And I'd heard of this brand. I've heard of this company, but I hadn't bought or purchased, or I don't think I'd even seen their yarn in a yarn shop before. Not that I do a whole lot of yarn, like indie dyed special yarn shopping, because we have my local yarn store and then we have Michael's and Joann's, and they're not going to carry this. But it was fun to see it in person, and it's like this beautiful single ply, which I'm in love with. I love all things single ply. The colorway is called Tiger Lily. And yeah, I just thought it would make a really fun hat, to be honest. and this is brighter than the colors I normally go for, but it was very eye-catching, and I thought it was really pretty. So that is the very Cliff Notes version of our little trip. It was a really fun trip. I'm trying to decide, maybe I should save this for the next video, because this is getting a pretty lengthy. Yeah, I think I will go ahead and save this next part for my video, because I know I'll have less things to talk about there, because we're running at about an hour and I won't have a lot to cut from that. So anyway, if you've made it this long, thank you so much for joining me again. I know it's been a while, but I'm excited to be back. I don't know if I'll be back consistently yet, but I'm still here. I'm still making things. I still have the intention of recording. I make a list to keep track of what I've shared and what I haven't shared, so that I can pick up right where I leave off. And yeah, again, Instagram's the best way to follow me and see in a more real-time basis what I'm working on, because I have shared a whole lot about all of this, almost all of it. I haven't quite shared all the gifts yet, but I've posted quite a bit of what I shared today already as I'm working on them. And then Ravelry, I always have what I'm working on, and I try to stay obsessively up to date on Ravelry. So those are the two best places to keep up with what I'm working on. Yeah, I can't say enough. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.